My name is Ethan Cole. I'm 49 years old. On the morning of the 12th of May 2024, at exactly 9:32 a.m., my life on Earth ended right there on the polished floor of my office, on the 58th floor of a Manhattan tower. For decades, I wasn't really Ethan. I was just Cole, a signature on contracts, a voice on trading calls, a man who worshipped numbers more than peace. Wall Street was my temple, and I was one of its priests. My days ran on three fuels: coffee, competition, and quiet panic. I had everything the world calls success: a beautiful wife, Elena, and a daughter, Grace, just starting college. But they got whatever was left of me after I'd spent myself chasing profits. My mornings began at 4 a.m., eyes glued to glowing charts before my feet even touched the cold floor. It was a life of blinking screens and shouting brokers, a carnival of greed I mistook for purpose. And then, one ordinary morning, the game ended. The markets opened with their usual frenzy. 2 phones pressed to my ears, 6 monitors flashing green and red storms of numbers. Then a sudden stab in my chest, sharp, electric, impossible to ignore. I brushed it off as caffeine or stress, told my assistant to hold the calls, tried to stand for water. The next moment felt like being struck by lightning from inside my own heart. My knees buckled. The room spun. I remember the tickers running across the TV. Numbers, colors, then darkness. The noise vanished. The pain disappeared. Even the weight on my shoulders, the one I'd carried for 20 years, lifted. When I opened my eyes, everything was impossibly still. I was above the chaos, literally, floating near the ceiling, watching people rush into my office. My body lay motionless on the floor. My suit crumpled, my face pale. They shouted my name, started CPR. Panicked, but I felt none of it. No fear, no confusion, only a strange, quiet peace. My life unfolded before me, not in scenes but in emotions. Missed dinners, half-watched school plays, victories that left me emptier than before. For the first time, I saw the truth. I had been rich in everything that fades and bankrupt in everything that matters. Then came the pull, gentle but irresistible, drawing me away from the noise and glass and steel of Manhattan. The city dissolved into a soft gray light. I wasn't afraid. It felt like going home, though I didn't know where home was. As I drifted through that silent realm, the pieces of my earthly identity fell away. My title, my bank account, my ego, all gone. I was simply me, whatever me really was. And in that endless stillness, I sensed I wasn't alone. In that gray stillness, I felt something, or rather someone, not seen, but deeply known. The silence around me wasn't empty. It was alive. It hummed with peace so complete that even my thoughts grew quiet. The noise that had filled my head for decades, the tickers, the deals, the fear, finally stopped. Then, from that perfect silence, a light began to form. Not harsh or blinding, it was gentle, like the first gold of morning sunlight. It wasn't just around me, it was through me, and it felt alive as if it was made of love itself. That word love doesn't even come close. This wasn't human affection or emotion. It was the kind of love that keeps stars burning and oceans moving. The kind of love that had been chasing me all my life while I was too busy chasing everything else. And from the center of that living light, a shape appeared, a man, not the Sunday school Jesus of paintings and pictures. This being was both human and beyond human form and radiance at once. And when his eyes met mine, every wall I had ever built just disappeared. Those eyes, they weren't a color, they were eternity. Looking into them was like staring into the center of creation, terrifying and safe all at once. He didn't speak, not at first, but the instant our eyes met, I knew he knew me. Not my resume, not my mistakes, not even my titles, but me. The boy who once prayed quietly under the stars. The young man who tried to earn love through success. The husband who thought money could buy peace. And instead of judgment, what I felt from him was recognition, like a father who has finally found his lost son. Tears fell, though I didn't have a body to cry with. For the first time in my entire life, I wasn't striving. I wasn't running. I was safe. When he finally spoke, his voice didn't come through. Sound had arrived as truth inside my soul. It said, "Peace, Ethan. Be still." And suddenly I was. All striving stopped. He lifted his hand, not to touch me, but to show me. The gray mist around us turned into motion like a window opening to another world. Before my eyes, I saw what I had devoted my life to, the global financial system. But it wasn't numbers or charts, it was a colossal trembling machine, gears of light and shadow stretching across the earth. It was shaking, overworked, humming with fear and greed. I could feel what powered it: human emotion. Streams of fear poured into its engines, making it spin faster and faster. Thick currents of greed clogged its wheels, building unbearable pressure. Pride and arrogance built towers of numbers on foundations of sand. "This," Jesus said to me, his voice filled with both compassion and sorrow, "is the system mankind has trusted, one built not on truth, but on illusion. And what is built on fear and greed cannot stand." The scene changed. I saw people, ordinary people, a couple sitting at their kitchen table, staring at a foreclosure notice, a father's eyes hollow with shame, a mother trying to smile for their child. Then, an old man clutching a retirement statement, his life's work gone in a blink. His hands trembled, his wife in the other room unaware that their security had vanished. I felt their pain, their despair, their confusion, as if it was my own, and in that moment, I saw myself a man who had profited from the same machine that crushed them. Tears flowed again. "When will this happen?" I asked, my soul shaking. He turned toward me, calm, radiant, unshaken. "The shaking has begun," he said, "but the great breaking will unfold in 2026, not as a single collapse, but as a series of events. Everything built on the sand will be tested." Fear surged inside me, the old instinct of a traitor. "I have to go back," I said. "I have to warn them. They need to prepare to save their money." He looked at me with the gentlest smile I've ever seen. "Ethan," he said softly, "if you return only to help them save their money, you will have missed the point. Way," his next words sank into me like light, "is greater than. This is not a punishment. It is a rescue. The fever must come before the healing. The world is sick with the love of money, but I am calling them back to what is real." The vision shifted again. I saw after the storm, people helping neighbors, sharing food, praying together in broken churches, now filled with hope. Families that once barely spoke now laughing around candlelit tables. The world had less, but somehow had more. He said, "Tell them to invest not in their portfolios, but in what endures: their families, their faith, their compassion. When the storm comes, these will be their shelter." I finally understood. The message wasn't about the crash. It was about the cure. I didn't want to leave. Every part of me wanted to stay in that light, in that peace that had no end. It felt like home, like the place my soul had been longing for my whole life without realizing it. I turned toward him and whispered, "Please, don't send me back. I want to stay with you." The words weren't made of sound. They were pure longing. He stepped closer. The warmth of his light surrounded me, not burning, but healing. Every wound I'd ever carried, every regret, every hidden scar was being mended in his presence. Then he spoke, his voice wrapping around me, like comfort and command at once. "Is greater than. I know you are tired, my son, but your story is not finished. Your wife, Elena, still needs her husband. Your daughter, Grace, still needs her father. There are people who must hear what you have seen. Go and tell them. I love them. I am calling them home before the storm." Anne Leal, in effect, said, "Ach." I wept. Leaving that light was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than dying, harder than losing everything. But I nodded. "I'll tell them," I said. And then the light grew brighter, so bright that it consumed everything. All that peace, all that stillness, folded into a single flash. And then came pain. A violent shock tore through my chest. It felt like fire and ice all at once. I heard shouting, panicked, desperate voices. "We've got him back. He's breathing." My eyes fluttered open. Fluorescent lights, white ceiling, a paramedic's face hovering over me, drenched in sweat, machines beeping, wheels clattering down a hospital hallway. I was back in the world of noise, back in the world I once thought I controlled. And I wept not from pain, but because I had just left home. Later, the doctors told my wife I had been clinically dead for 22 minutes. They said it was impossible, that my brain wasn't damaged, but I was completely fine. Even my heart, which had suffered what they called a widowmaker, began to heal on its own. They called it a miracle. I knew it was more than that. It was mercy. When I left the hospital, I didn't go back to my old office. I didn't check the markets. I didn't crave the rush. I sold everything, not out of fear, but because my heart no longer belonged to that world. Now, my days are simple. I wake up with my wife beside me. I talk to my daughter every day. We pray together. We laugh more. The silence that once haunted me is now a friend, because I know who is in it. I share my story, not to impress anyone, but to warn and to comfort. A storm is coming. He showed me that clearly. The great shaking of 2026 will not just test economies, it will test hearts. But listen carefully. This is not a message of fear. It is a message of hope. He is not warning you to protect your money. He is calling you to protect your soul. Ask yourself, what is your life built on? Is it built on the sand of wealth, success, and things that vanish? Or on the rock faith, family, and love that never fades? You don't need to wait for a crash to find what matters. Do it now. Look at the people you love. Forgive those who've hurt you. Feed someone who's hungry. Find a quiet moment and talk to God. He's listening. He's always been listening. Because when the world shakes, and it will, only one thing will remain unshaken. Love. That's the only investment that will never, ever fail.